And that marks the beginning of my program, Gilbert Talks Taxes, because as we all know, taxation with representation has not been a good idea either. And as we're wrapping up this tax season, we're going to do two more shows. The April 14th, Saturday, April 14th is going to be my last program. It's hard to believe this tax season is going to be over in just 17 more days. Good morning, everybody. I am Gilbert Carmona. I am an enrolled agent. An enrolled agent is a person enrolled, licensed with the Internal Revenue Service to represent taxpayers in all matters. Just like tax attorneys and CPAs, enrolled agents are one of the 3 classes that can help you when you have a problem with the IRS. We also prepare tax returns. We do tax planning and all kinds of financial advice, whether people want it or not sometimes. Todd, my engineer this morning. Todd, good morning. Those of you watching us live streaming, www.wcab59.com. Good morning, everyone. We look great here in the Blue Room. Todd is making some last-minute adjustments. This is live radio at its best right here. It looks really good, Todd. Good job. Those of you listening to us, Northland Cable Channel 5 subscribers, good morning. Thank you for tuning in, especially those of you out in Polk County that listen to me. Thank you very much. Now, I really want to get into a lot of things. There's just a whole lot going on as we get down into the last 2 weeks here. But let me give out my information. If you need me, my telephone number is 828-289-9300. Or you can send me an email at gilbert@gilbertcarmona.com. I have 2 offices. I have one right here at 113 Whitesides Road in Rutherfordton, right next to Southern Baptist Church. I have another office in downtown Tryon at 226 South Trade Street, the beautiful Art Deco building right off the historic downtown, right on Trade Street. We keep hours there at both offices. If you need an appointment, call for an appointment. Now, if you have a question, this is live radio. If you have a question, you can call me here at the studio. Todd will be more than happy to take that question and give it to me. If I can answer it on the air, I will, Todd. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I have to get back to you or answer it next week. The telephone number here is 287-3356. So be sure to give us a call. And people are actually texting me questions right now as we speak. Oh, that one's a little too deep. I might answer that one. Let me look at it. I want to talk about several things this morning. There's still a lot of scams that are going on with the IRS, and there are scams involving the IRS, making you think they're from the IRS. There's some preparer activities, some things, and I want to talk about tax planning going forward. But this is the time of the year that now people have already filed their tax returns. They come in, the people that know they're getting a refund for whatever reason, they know they're getting a refund. Those are the people that come right away. End of January, as soon as those W-2s start showing up, they're at the office. And those refunds have already come and gone. And those are the people I see once a year. They come. Then in the middle of the season, we get the business owners, the more complicated returns, some of the estate planning returns, some of the people that are, going forward. Now we start getting into the people that know they owe. And they're waiting till the last minute to come. And as I was thinking about this morning, getting ready for my program, Fernando the cat, and I were having breakfast, and I was preparing for my notes and just reading this. The scripture I kept getting is what you sow is what you reap. Because a lot of people come in and they know they owe, and then there's people that know they owe, they've planned for it, they know they're going to owe, and you give them the number, and I've had people that have owed 6-digit numbers. It's hard to believe. And it's like they know this is what I owe. They had whatever event happen, economic event happen, and they've got this tax bill, and they come and they pay this tax bill. And then there's the people that they know they owe, but they're blindsided by the amount. And I see they made no preparation for it. And that's the biggest thing I see, is there's no preparation. And it's not, I don't want to be funny about it. I don't want to try to make a joke about it, but it's like every year this thing happens. This April 15th. Now this year it's April 17th, because April 15th is on a Sunday. Monday the 16th is a holiday, federal holiday in Washington, D.C. The IRS is shut down. So the 17th at midnight, these tax returns are due. You know that. Everybody knows that. So this isn't a surprise to anybody. Yet there are so many people that come in not ready. And as I was thinking about this a lot, I just kept getting, what you sow is what you reap. A lot of people come by my office and they see my garden that I have there in front, and they see my grass, and it's really beautiful. It's really green. And my gardens, usually you see I've got a lot of flowers in it. I've got a lot of things happening, because I really think what's on the outside shows what's on the inside. So that's why we always wanted to have our office be a nice place. You drive by and it looks nice, because we care. We care about what's inside. We care about what's outside. And people say, it's beautiful. How did you get your grass so beautiful? How did you get those flowers so beautiful? Because we sow. We sow seed. We sow fertilizer. We sow into the soil, so later we can reap. What you sow is what you reap. I remember I had a friend in Illinois. He was a turf manager at a very exclusive private golf course in Medina, very famous golf course in Medina, and I had a problem with my lawn, and I called him over. I said, Mike, can you come help me? I know this is my tiny little lawn to use nothing, but he said, oh, sure, no problem. He came over, he found my problem, and he told me what to do. And we went and got what I needed to put on the lawn, and he helped me, and we had a great time together. And when he left, he said, now don't call me tomorrow asking me why your grass isn't green. And I laughed, and I said, well, of course not. It takes a couple of months for this stuff to work. And he goes, you know that. A lot of people don't. He said, I help a lot of people, and they'll call me in 3, 4, 5 days, and they'll say, my grass isn't green. I just spent $250 on what you told me to put down, and it's not working. And Mike said, what you do to your lawn today, you'll see the result of next year. You just got to have a little faith. And that stuck with me. This conversation, by the way, was 22 years ago. And that has always stuck with me. And every time I'm putting fertilizer down, I think, I'll be enjoying this next year. So, to the people who aren't ready, haven't been ready, or are getting ready to do their taxes, and they're not ready, well, let's get what we got to get done now. But let's think about next year. Because what you sow is what you're going to reap. And I tell them, let's make your estimated tax payments. Let's get this thing filed timely. Every year there's so many people that come after, I know this is hard to believe, they're going to come after the deadline to do their taxes, or how many people come with many, many years. And I say many years. I've had people that have had 7 and 8 years of prior year tax returns that were not done. And it's really a condition of the heart. And I'm not saying you're a bad person. I'm just saying examine your heart, because it's a heart condition. It's not an IRS condition. It's not a problem with the tax law. And there's no tax reform that's going to fix this problem. Because what you sow is what you're going to reap. So just be careful what you sow. It's just as easy to sow good seed as it is to sow bad seed, or worse than that, to sow no seed. So it's not that you're making estimated tax payments, you're actually sowing. And it's a biblical principle as old as time. And for those of you that owe, that know that you owe and you don't have the money, and don't get me wrong, I understand things happen in life. People get sick, people lose jobs, people die. These things happen in life to everybody. So, but there's still an element of our behavior that we have to take responsibility for. Because if you read that scripture again, it's what you sow is what you are going to reap. And the scripture that I've had for several people who owe money, who come in and I tell them how much they owe, and they start wringing their hands and saying, you know, it's due in 2 weeks, due in 3 weeks. Because the money's got to be into the IRS. You got to get that thing in the envelope, in an envelope and in the mail the 17th. Okay? Or you can pay online. You have till midnight on the 17th to pay that bill. I tell them, you know, nobody was under more pressure than Jesus. Nobody that's walked the face of this earth has been under more pressure than that man was. And I tell them the story about the time that the priests and the Pharisees went to Peter and said, Peter, why does your master not pay the temple tax? And Peter, if you read that, go back and read that. He got a little nervous. He got a little shaky. And he said, oh, well, we pay the tax. And really, he had no idea how he was going to pay that tax. And he went and found Jesus to tell him what had happened. But Jesus already knew what was going on. And when Peter walked up to Jesus, Jesus spoke first. And Jesus said to Peter, who should pay the temple tax? Should the children, the heirs, pay the tax? Peter said, no. Jesus said, let's pay the tax anyway. Because Jesus was exempt from the tax. But he paid it anyway. And what did he do, Todd? He told Peter, go down to the river and get a fish. Open that fish's mouth, and there's going to be our shekel. Half for me, half for you. Go pay our tax. And so I encourage you, pray for your fish. And then it's not just about taxes. It's about any situation in life where you need encouragement. Pray for your fish. There's another scripture that says, pray to the master of the harvest that he may leave you a grain offering or a meal offering that you might offer it to God. Because it's really not even our money. If you're really a Christian and you really believe that it all belongs to God, it all belongs to God. And you're just doing the right thing with it. Because what you sow is what you reap. So what does that have to do with taxes? Everything. Because one thing I've learned preparing taxes I keep saying 15 years. My wife keeps reminding me, honey, you're getting older. It's more than that. But the first tax return I ever did for somebody else was in 1999. So I'm going on 19 years now. And one thing I've seen over all these years is it's a heart issue. It is just a heart issue. It shows everything. Your tax return shows everything. Shows the condition of your heart. Again, what you sow is what you reap. So be careful what you sow, because it's going to be what you reap. Let's go ahead and take that first break, Todd, and I will be right back. This is Gilbert Talks Taxes, WCAB 590 AM. It's official. I'm celebrating another year of looking fabulous, all because of RSL Salon. Whether it's a hairstyle, a manicure, or a pedicure, call Robin at 289-9110, because everyone deserves to look fabulous. That's 289-9110.
I want to welcome Tim Schlabach and Foothills Photo Works, a professional hybrid commercial photography studio. If you're concerned about your social media image, listen up. Whether you're an executive, real estate broker, lawyer, or business owner, your image matters now more than ever. And you know first impressions count. Whether you need professional portraits, corporate headshots, images of your products or facility, aerial photography, and videos of buildings, boats, or large acreage, affordable professional help is here for you. Foothills Photo Works can create media that will help your prospects get to know you better and help you look your best. Call for an appointment. That number is 828-668-2304. Mention this ad and receive 15% off your first session. That's 828-668-2304. Foothills Photo Works, your media professionals.
We are back. That was fast. This is Gilbert Talks Taxes, WCAB 590 AM. Those of you live streaming, www.wcab59.com. Northland Cable Channel 5 subscribers, good morning. I am, my telephone number, 828-289-9300. And yes, we will be preparing tax returns right up until the last minute on Tuesday, the 17th. I'm going to do 2 more programs, Todd. I'm going to be next Saturday, and then the 14th will be our last show of the season. And last year we really wanted to come back during the summer. I've talked to Jim about this. I don't think people want to hear about taxes during the summer, but as many of you know, I have securities license. We do financial planning. We do investments. I have a Series 6 and a Series 63, and what that means is I can help people with IRAs, and I can help people, invest their money, annuities. I also have my life insurance license for fixed and variable annuities. So we do that, but I've never wanted to talk about that on the air and get into that part of it because the regulations on that are very, very strict. They want me to, and when I say they, I'm talking about my back office that handles all the paperwork and all the compliance with the government, wants my script a week ahead of time so they can review it. They're very careful about what you can say, and you have to stay to your script. You cannot, change. Well, a lot happens in my world in a week, especially during tax season. And I told them, I said, it's live radio. They said, well, you can record it. I don't want to do this recorded. I want to get up in the morning, pray about what I'm going to say, pull my notes together, and come here and talk to all of you out there. Those of you that come to have me do your taxes, I mean, we think the world of all of you, and this is an honor and a privilege to be here. So we didn't want to do that, but more and more we're thinking about it. So we may be coming back with something, Todd. Todd's like, I'm going to have to stay here another hour on Saturdays. Yes, Todd, you may. We're talking about it, but we will let you know if we decide to do that. My wife is distressed about the idea. Oh yeah, she likes to sleep in her Saturday mornings. Not me. I like to get up. Fernando and I, we get up early, and we look out the window and look at our beautiful grass. The scams. I feel like I beat this subject into the ground. It's just when you think you've seen everything, there's a new one. The newest scam, and the IRS is really all about us getting this out to people to warn them. Because I had somebody at my office yesterday. The IRS called me. He came in there panicked. I mean panicked. The IRS called me. They're going to arrest me. I said the IRS doesn't call anybody. It's when you go to the IRS's website, which is irs.gov. Do not go to any other website. It's irs.gov. They have it right on the front page. It is a scam. The IRS will never call you. The IRS will send you letters to your address. Because sooner or later, they're going to get you. You're going to file a tax return, and they're going to have you. They're going to have your new address. They're going to find you. They're in no hurry. Okay? They're not going to send the sheriff out to your house. So you can forget that. That just doesn't happen. But stop and think about it. So the new scam, they'll have somebody else's refund deposited into your bank account. They'll get your bank account information somehow. They'll have somebody else's refund deposited into your bank account. They will call you, and they will say, this is the IRS, there's been a mistake, you've had this amount. It's not a big amount of money, but it's big enough, a couple of $1,000s. We've had this money, we accidentally deposited this money into your account. Please, check online and see, is it there? And people will do this with this person on the phone. And sure enough, this money's there, and they'll say, this is a mistake. We need to get this money back right away, or you will pay substantial fines and penalties for having this money. We need your account number and your routing number and your permission to take this money out right now. Or they'll tell you to go get the money out. Two things happen. Number one, You have now given somebody permission to access your bank account. They clean your bank account out. Number two, you've just committed money laundering. They're off the hook because they never did anything wrong. They deposited the money in your bank account and you turn around and sent it to them. Now, this may seem like splitting hairs legally, but however they figured this out, they're now off the hook. And it's usually somebody in another country that does this. And once that money is gone, it's gone. So if anything like that happens, number one, if any money shows up in your bank account that is not your money, just stop right there. It's not your money. Somebody that I was talking about this to says, well, if it's in my bank account, it's mine. No, it's not. It is not yours. You need to report it to the bank immediately, and don't touch that money. Just leave it. Don't do anything, because you've been compromised. Somehow you've been compromised. So I can't get this out there enough. This is so important that the IRS is actually sending all of us in the preparer community notices to tell people. And then the IRS will never call you and tell you to send them the money back. That's just not how they work. Okay, you will get a lot of mail if something like this ever happened. On the heels of that, there's another scam. It's really not a scam. It's just something going on with preparers. Other preparers, we don't do this, of course, other preparers, and I've actually come across two of them. And interestingly enough, yesterday the IRS issued an awareness to us, and I've had two of these. Paid tax professionals are not permitted to endorse or otherwise negotiate a refund check issued to a taxpayer. This is true even if the taxpayer requests their refund to be directed into the bank account of the preparer. This is a serious penalty. The IRS is fining preparers $500 for every return, and there's no maximum. So how does this work? People will go to a preparer, and this especially starts happening this time of the year. People might not have prepared their tax returns earlier because they didn't have the money to pay the tax preparer. Because it is, you pay when services are rendered with just about everybody. It is with us. It's just about everybody we know. Now, some of my business clients, we do invoice because we invoice them every month. And tax prep is just another service to them that we provide along with payroll and tax payments and everything else. So they're on a monthly payout. But so you're just a person that just gets your taxes done. You don't have the money, whatever, $150, $125, whatever. $200, depending on how complicated your return is. You just don't have the money. The tax preparer says, let's just have that refund check deposited into my bank account. I'll deduct my fee and give you what's left over. Folks, don't do that. Number one, there have been cases where the tax preparer has disappeared and the people never get their refund check. Okay, that's number one. And it's really hard to prove to the IRS that you didn't get that check when in fact you had it deposited into a bank account. You signed the tax return and you said that's my bank account. You can deposit that check, and now you call the IRS and you tell them that it wasn't your bank account. That's fraud. Okay, so you'll have a mess on your hands. Don't do it. Do not do it. Now, some tax preparers, including us, offer a third-party service where they'll issue you your refund, take the fee out of the refund, but you get a check made out to you or direct deposited into your bank account, either or, made out to you or deposited into your bank account minus the fee. We offer it. It's offered. We offer it through our software. It's a lot of people do it. It's just a convenience for people. I say a lot of people, really not that many relative to how many returns I do. It's not something we really promote, but it's available. That's different. The check is coming to you. Don't let anybody else but you receive that check. or that refund. It's illegal. And most people don't even know they're doing it. I've actually had 2 people who've said, well, can you just have that check deposited into your bank account? I said, no, we can't. And sure enough, we're having this conversation, and the IRS issues this warning. And the other thing, while we're talking about preparers, if you go to a professional preparer that you are paying money to prepare your tax return, that preparer by law must sign the return. Okay, and this doesn't seem like a big deal. I've actually had quite a few tax returns come this year. What happened is it was a person here in the county that was doing this that's out of business or isn't doing it anymore. They just disappeared. And so some of those customers came to me. Somebody referred me, or one of them that had gone there referred their friends to me, and they're bringing last year's tax returns. And when you look at the bottom there where it says preparer information, it says self-prepared. There's no name, no numbers, no identifying information. That is illegal. If you are paying somebody, and the one person said, well, all I paid them was like, $50 or something. It doesn't matter if you pay them $10. Even if you go to a volunteer, there are volunteer services set up, like at the senior center or just wherever, different banks. Now, State Employees Credit Union was doing the free tax returns for their members. They're not free anymore. They've now gone into a charge basis. But certain senior centers, I know some of the nursing homes, will have registered volunteers come and do it for the seniors, typically for free. Well, sometimes there's a fee, but most of them it's free or a very low fee. The fee doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's free or not. If somebody else prepared that tax return, they have to sign it. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not talking about if your daughter or your father helps you prepare a tax return. That's different. That's the person. It's not doing it professionally, and a volunteer is considered professional. So, and why is this important? Because you're trusting this person to do it right. They need to sign off on it, because if there's a mistake, the IRS comes after you. You can't say let's say there's a mistake and it costs you money and there's a penalty. You can't request a penalty waiver because you relied on somebody else doing this correctly, which is one of the reasons you can request a penalty waiver. I relied on this person to do this accurately, professionally, and correctly. They didn't. Therefore, please waive my penalty. You'll still owe the money. You still owe any interest, but you can get the penalty waived. Well, if it says self-prepared, you didn't rely on anybody, and you'll lose that argument. And it can cost you money. Plus, you're just opening yourself up to fraud. You're just opening up yourself to fraud. Todd, let's go ahead and take the next break. But first, let me tell you this. I get a lot of phone calls, Todd. People say to me, Gilbert, I just got my refund. Thank you so much for helping me. I got a really nice refund. What do I do with that refund? Let me tell you what you need to do with that refund. You need to call NC Tractor and Farm Supply and get you a shiny red Massey Ferguson tractor. Okay? Call. Phil is ready to help you. Give Phil a call at 828-288-0395, or better yet, just stop at 509 Railroad Avenue. Massey Ferguson. Mention you heard it on Gilbert Talks Taxes, and you know what Phil will do? He might give me a discount on that brand new GC 1720 I'm looking at. Yeah, boy, this thing's pretty. Have you seen it, Todd? Look at that. Got the backhoe, the front bucket, and everything. Oh, yeah. Phil will help you with that tax refund at NC Tractor and Farm Supply. Tell Phil you heard it on Gilbert Talks Taxes. This is Gilbert. If you owe the IRS past due taxes, don't call those toll-free national numbers. Local, affordable help is right here in Rutherford County. Stop garnishments, levies, and liens. Call Gilbert Carmona at 828-289-9300. All initial consultations are free. Call Gilbert, 828-289-9300. We're back. Gilbert Talks Taxes. I almost did that without laughing. I almost went through. I wanted to come in and record that all week, but I was so busy. I just said, well, I'll just do it live. Oh, yeah, and I got a picture of that GC 1720 right here.
That's you.
That is me.
No, I can see you.
I need one for my vast 2-acre estate. We're having a lot of fun here.
Imagine you cutting grass in front of your office for that.
This is Gilbert Talks Taxes. WCAB 590 AM, live radio at its finest, right here. If you need to get me, you can call me live at the studio, 828-287-3356. You can call me at 828-289-9300. And the texts are coming in about that Massey Ferguson tractor. Yes, maybe I need to start a GoFundMe account. I have 2 offices, 113 Whitesides Road, right here in Rutherford, another one in Polk County. As we're wrapping up, we are going to have extended hours if you need to make an appointment. The deadline is April 17th. April 17th at midnight is the last time you can file your tax return and be compliant. Now, if you can't file your tax return in time, you don't have everything you need. And in fairness to people, I've still got clients that are having 1099s come in, especially brokerage accounts, those 1099Bs. B as in brokerage. Those are coming in. They're getting corrected ones. I just had somebody drop off 2, and we already did the return. We're going to have to amend it, but that's okay. It's not that big a deal. We're just going to go ahead and amend it and make a minor change. At this point, I'll just wait to amend them. Make sure that no more come in. Some of these people that have K1s from investments, an investment portfolio, especially if it's a partnership investment, a lot of times we'll issue what's called a K1, the letter K, the number 1, K1. You'll get those. It'll have, what happened in the partnership, your investments, dividends, interest, whatever you got paid. They'll get those. Those are just notoriously late all the time. So there's people that legitimately cannot get that tax return done. You have 2 options. Option number 1 is to file an extension. And I'm going to tell you today, with 2 weeks left, if you think that there's any possibility you're not going to have it ready in the next 2 weeks, go ahead and file an extension. Just if my clients, I'm already reaching out to you. I know who those of you are that have investments and stuff. I've already been calling. We've already been extending, actually. Extending is free. And even if you can do the tax return in time, no big deal. You just extend. I can turn around and file a tax return 3 days later. It doesn't matter. But you got the extension in. So my advice to you is extend. Don't procrastinate. Get it done. Do it now. You can just extend. Now, if you think you're going to owe, you're supposed to make a reasonable estimate about how much you're going to owe. You can just, if you owed last year, you can calculate 90% of what you owed last year and go ahead and mail that in with the extension. We e-file the extension. You go ahead and mail in the voucher, or you can do it online. I'm a little old school when it comes to this. No, I'm a lot old school, not a little. I'm a lot old school. I say mail a check, because that way you have that canceled check, that you get back from your bank as proof you mailed it. I've seen people go online and make mistakes and file it to the wrong thing. A man came to my office, not a client of mine. He thought he was paying his 1040 tax return. He ended up paying a 941 tax, which he didn't even have that kind of tax. So it was a whole mess to clean that up with the IRS. We did. We got it cleaned up and got it reallocated. It all worked out, but it's just one more thing to do in an already complicated process. So if you think you're going to owe, just mail a check in with a voucher. I give you a voucher, or when you generate your extension, you can even paper file a voucher. If you're confident you're going to get a refund, or you think you're going to owe less than $1,000, there's no penalty for failure to send estimated taxes if it's less than $1,000. If you think it's just going to be a couple of hundred, and the penalty and interest is very, very small, you just want to wait, that's fine. It's up to you. But get that extension filed, because then there's a whole other penalty for failure to file. And what happens is, if you need to do an amendment, if you need to amend down the line for whatever reason, and you think, oh, I'll never have to do that. Oh, you'd be surprised. Things that happen. And people come back and they need to amend a tax return from 3 years ago. What happens is, by filing that extension, you extend automatic 6 month. So you extend it from April 5th, technically it's April 15th to October 15th. But not only that, should you have to amend in the future, you've extended your amendment time by 6 months. And I have actually had a situation, of course, when you do 1,000 tax returns like I do a year, you see just about every situation. But I have actually had a situation where that 6 months could have put a lot more money back in a person's pocket, because there was no extension and it was a whole complicated situation. They lost out on some money and had to pay more penalty and more interest. So go ahead and get that done. Tomorrow's April 1st. Just do it. Get it filed if you think there's going to be any problem at all. Any problem at all. In light of that, the IRS wants us to remind everybody that April 17th, this Tuesday, the curtain closes on 2014. If you have a tax refund that you never got, for whatever reason, from 2014, okay, you have till April 17th to claim that refund, unless you filed an extension. So the IRS estimates that there are $1.1 billion worth of unclaimed refunds from 2014. $1.1 billion in unclaimed refunds. Most of them are earned income tax credits and child tax credits. Many of them are tax returns that had problems and the people never responded to the problem, where the IRS may have questioned something on the return and the people just never responded. Now, how somebody can walk away from a $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 refund, I'm just always kind of made me scratch my head, but people do. Also, North Carolina would like to remind people that there are over $30 million of unclaimed refunds from 2014. There are 30,800 unclaimed refunds. So what happens? There's a statute of limitations on this. It's 3 years. After 3 years, you cannot claim refunds for earned income tax credit, child tax credit. Now, there are other types of refunds, overpayment refunds, you can claim. There's no statute of limitations on, but those are not the norm. And most people that have that kind of thing know it and they're working on it. This is different. This is earned income tax credit, child tax credit. So just look and see. Make sure you got your refund. Did you get your money? 2014, you would have gotten it in 2015. Was there an issue? Was there anything they held up? So that is, a lot happens. A lot happens April 15th, Todd. It's going to be a busy couple of days. I'm going to get into, how much time do we have left? Oh, look at that. We're doing great here on time. I'm going to get into, there's a little confusion. No, there's a lot of confusion with the new tax law. I don't want to say a little. There's a lot. The new tax law, so people say, Gilbert, what do you do after April 15th? Let me tell you what I do after April 15th, right here. I'm holding up 2 pieces of paper. We do tax planning. Tax planning for next year. And you're going to need a lot of tax planning for next year. There's a little confusion about the home equity loans. I don't know. Well, I think some of the confusion came from, okay, let me back up a little. You know, standard deduction next year is going to be doubled. Okay, standard deduction for a single person or married filing separately, standard deduction is going to be $12,000. Let that sink in a minute. It's $6,000 this year. Next year, it's going to be $12,000. It's doubled. Married filing jointly, $24,000. That means this new tax law made $12,000 an additional if you're married filing jointly, made an additional $12,000 of your income tax free. This is huge. I can't say this enough, or as our president says, huge. It really is. Head of household, that they've all doubled. Head of household is $18,000. Now, if you are blind or over 65, you can add another $1,300. If you're blind over 65, unmarried but not a surviving spouse, you can add $1,600. So it's an additional $300. Dependent, if you're a dependent filing on your own, standard deduction is $1,050. That's a dependent that puts on the tax return, or dependent of another. Okay, so these numbers have doubled. So there was a little confusion, a lot of confusion actually, as to will home mortgages still be deductible and home equity loans still be deductible. They are. What happens is that your mortgage and your home equity loan goes on Schedule A. Schedule A is itemized deduction. You itemize. So you either get the standard deduction, which is the numbers I just read, or if you go above those numbers, you itemize. Now, what goes on Schedule A? Medical. Of course, medical has a cap, has a threshold. You've got to get beyond. You've got to get beyond percentage of your AGI. Medical goes on there. Donations to charity go on there. Mortgage interest and home equity interest goes on there. Property taxes go on there, and there's other things on the bottom that aren't that common. The most commons are gift to charity, medical, and mortgage. So what they're saying is, because the standard deduction is so high now, most people aren't going to make Schedule A. Well, right now, only 30 to 40% of the people make Schedule A anyway. Not that many people itemize. And of course, you've heard all the major charities saying that they are now, going to go broke because nobody's going to donate to charities because they're not getting a tax refund, a tax rebate, or they're not going to get a tax reduction. They can't put it on their tax return. Well, my answer to them is, if your donor base is giving to your charity only to lower their tax bill, you may want to rethink your charity, because that's not a donor base you want. I argue that real Christians that tithe and give to their churches are going to do it whether they get a tax refund or not. So I'm not seeing that's going to affect that much. But the other charities, yeah, they may hurt. Whether they do or they don't, that's not the issue. The issue is, this is good for the taxpayer. It's going to reduce your tax bill huge. But home equity loans are still deductible. Now, they are capping them. In 2018, the taxpayer can only deduct interest on $750,000 of qualified residence loan. That means your total loan or loans is capped at $750,000. That's a pretty big mortgage. I don't know, most people do not have a $750,000 mortgage. Some might, some don't. The limit for married filing separate return, by the way, is half that, $375,000. The reason that is because each person can take a half. So they're filing separate, so it's $375,000, $375,000. So, but there was a limit before. The limit before was $1 million. 500,000, 500,000 for married filing separate. So they really just lowered it a little. I mean, I think in the big picture, it's just a little. Now, the limits apply to the combined amounts of loans. And I think this is where some of the confusion came in. People were thinking, well, only the one loan. No, it's the combined. So typically, here's what I see. Somebody has a first mortgage in the $100,000 ballpark. They want to do something, they want to remodel or whatever, and they'll take out a $30,000, $40,000 equity line to go ahead and do that project. The two loans combined, the 100,000, let's say it's just 100,000 and a 30,000, it's 130,000. Okay, and yes, it is deductible, and it's deductible regardless of what you use the money for. If it's a loan secured by your home, it is deductible. Now, we're getting ready to wind down here. I am going to go to Railroad Express right after this, get a cup of coffee and a donut. Those of you that meet me there and we talk about taxes and stuff, come on down. I'm going to be there for a little bit. That's Jesse James, Railroad Express. Jesse's listening. Jesse, get the coffee going. We're going to be there real soon. Let's go ahead and take our last break. Todd, this is Gilbert Talks Taxes, WCAB 590 AM.
My closet keeps shrinking my clothes. And if you have that problem, take them to Nancy at Nancy's Alteration Shop at 610 South Broadway, Forest City. Call Nancy today at 429-6900. Wear the clothes you like to wear. Let Nancy bring them back to life for you. That's Nancy's Alteration Shop, 610 South Broadway, Forest City.
I want to tell you about a little-known Rutherford County gem, Integrity Marble and Granite, located at 287 Shiloh Road in Forest City. They are the premier stone fabrication company in the western North Carolina region. They specialize in granite, marble, and natural stone, offering complete design and installation. Their design center and Kohler showroom features vanities, decorative accessories, bathroom, and kitchen fixtures. You do not have to go to Charlotte or Asheville for this kind of quality. We have it right here in Forest City. Stop in their showroom and browse their beautiful displays, or you can call 828-247-8801 for a free quote. You can also go to their website, www.integritymarblegranite.com, and look at the pictures and see samples of their available materials. Now, mention you heard it on Gilbert Talks Taxes, and they will give you $100 off any sink purchase. That's Integrity Marble and Granite. Good morning. This is Gilbert Talks Taxes, WCAB 590 AM. My telephone number is 828-289-9300. We've got 12 minutes left on the air. If you have a question, 828-287-3356. I did get one question, but it's a little more complicated than I want to get into right now. I might answer it next week. But any question you may have, if I can answer it on the air, I will. There's a lot of things I want to talk about. As Todd said earlier, I've just got IRS stuff all over here. All over here. I'm going to get into the subject of ID theft is coming up more and more. I have actually not had any of my regular people. So this is what happens. None of my regular people have been victims of ID theft, but I've had other people contacting me, asking me what to do. So let's talk about ID theft. ID theft happens. The way we find out your ID has been your identification or an identification of anybody on that tax return, your dependents, has been compromised is you come in, I do your tax return, everything's good. I file that tax return. As the good tax preparer that I am, we file right away. I'll take that question. We file right away, and it comes back. I get an error message. Usually I get it back right away. I get an error message that says the name and social for a person on the tax return has already been used to file another tax return. That's the wording how it comes back from the IRS. So that's exactly what that means. The name and social of a person, and it gives me the social in the error, so I know who it is. has been filed on another tax return. So two things happen in that scenario. One, a spouse claimed a dependent that they shouldn't have, because if you're coming to me and you're telling me that these dependents are yours, and we go through the questions and they are your dependents and you are supposed to be claiming them, then a spouse or a family member who's not supposed to be claiming one of those dependents is claiming one of those dependents. Okay? And the way it works with the IRS is whoever files it first, it hits the system first. If that's the case, we have to send a letter. We have to paper file you. We can no longer e-file you. E-filing is off the table. There's nothing you can fix now to e-file it. You can't call the IRS and they push a button and now you can e-file it. So you have to send a paper return. And with that paper return, you should send an explanation. Because by law, electronic return originators, people that e-file returns, like me, we have to e-file. If we can't e-file, we have to explain why we can't e-file, because it is a law to e-file. So we have no way around it. Now, there are some tax returns that cannot be e-filed because they have forms in it, they are complicated. I mean, I have some tax returns that are 30, 40 pages thick, and those have to be paper filed. It's just the only way to do that. But we send an explanation. So we send an explanation that this happened, and then they will solve the problem. Is now the ball's in their court on that one. The other one is, so if that's not the scenario, then the other scenario is your ID's been compromised, and we have to go through the paperwork. You have to file a police report because it is theft. Okay, we file a police report, we send the appropriate forms, send the evidence, we send the documentation, and you have to paper file. And going forward, that Social Security number will get a PIN from the IRS, a 6-digit PIN. The IRS generates it and mails you that letter in December, and you need that PIN to e-file. If you didn't get your PIN and you were supposed to, you need to contact the IRS and tell them you're waiting for your PIN. You haven't gotten it. You need to talk to somebody there. No, they're not going to give you that number over the phone. Okay? They're going to mail it to the address on file, which gets us back to the other subject, and that is make sure the IRS has your correct address and the correct spelling of your last name. If you get married, you've got to change your name right away with Social Security Administration so you can start using it. As soon as you get your new Social Security card, you need to use that number on that card. Okay, so somebody called and asked a question. They did not understand what I was saying, and fair enough. I moved through it pretty quick. They didn't understand what I was saying about charity donations. Will they count on taxes? Okay. Thank you. Thank you for calling with that question. I tend, I've got an hour to get a lot of information out. I could actually do a 2-hour program on this subject. Okay. Will donations to charity count on your taxes? Yes. You can put them on your taxes. What happens, though, is it goes on Schedule A, and that is your itemized deduction. And you're already getting a standard deduction of $24,000. So for your charity, donations to charities, everything on Schedule A has to total more than $24,000 for you to itemize. So what goes on Schedule A is medical, mortgage, your mortgage interest, property taxes, which includes vehicle taxes, any property tax, any real property, not just your home and land. Any real property taxes you pay goes on Schedule A. All those things have to equal more than $24,000. So let's say that a person who might be giving $5,000 a year to their charity, they don't have a mortgage, they don't have any medical bill, their property tax is very small. Yes, I'll put it on the Schedule A, but you're still going to get your $24,000 standard deduction because you didn't go over $24,000. And this is why a lot of charities are saying this new tax law is going to hurt us, because standard deduction being so high, people are just not going to be donating money like they used to, because there's no tax savings incentive. Because the total of everything on Schedule A has to be more than $24,000. My argument is that real Christians that tithe, and it's not just Christians, I mean Jews give money to their synagogues, people donate to their churches. As long as it's a 501c3 charity or a church that's registered, you can give a tax-deductible donation. My argument is, though, that the people that give to that because they believe in their church, they know that the biblical fact, the biblical concept of giving money to your church, whether you get a tax break or not, they're going to do it anyway. But other charities are saying our donor base gives because they get a tax break. So those people probably will hurt. But as far as you, the taxpayer, yes, it can go on your tax return. Will it help you? You need to talk to your tax planner about that. And speaking of which, you can call me if I'm your tax planner. And how can they get me, Todd? 828-289-9300. Let me get back to, so I hope I answered that question. And if you want to talk about that some more, please call me. I'd be more than happy to explain it to you some more. I mean, there's people that, I actually had a lady just this week. We did her tax return. She gives a lot of money to her church. She does not put it on her tax return. She has a conviction against doing that. She gives because she gives to God. What's his? I forgot how she said it. She said, it's what I give to God. She said, I don't even keep a note of it, of what I give. She goes, I give to my church because I give to my church. Because I go through my list. I said, well, Schedule A, tithes, because I know she goes to church. And she's got a pretty good income, and anything would help her. She said, no, not that. I don't want that on my tax return. So it's what you're all about. So we are wrapping down. Todd, I have got 3 minutes left. What could I possibly talk about and get it all in 3 minutes? Todd is looking through his phone, feverishly searching tax topics. I can tell. No, you're on eBay. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, it was a guess. Before I started talking about charities, I was talking about the importance of letting the IRS have your correct address. Very important. And also people that get married, ladies, when you change your last name, you don't report that to the IRS. You report that to Social Security. You report that when you change your name on your Social Security card, or you report it to Social Security, you'll get a new Social Security card. As soon as you do that, as soon as you get that card, you're in the system. That is the name I have to use on your tax return. If you haven't done that yet, even though you're married, I still have to use your previous name on your tax return because you haven't changed it. What happens is, moving forward, as letters and things come from the IRS, it can get a little confusing. So make that change as soon as possible. If you adopt a child and there's a name change involved in that adoption, try to get that reported to SSA as soon as possible so we can get that on the tax return. You don't want a refund held up, or a child tax credit held up, earned income tax credit or adoption credit held up over a name issue. I've seen that happen, and just try to get that done as soon as possible. And reporting your correct address. A lot of people come in and their W-2s have the wrong address. And I'll say, or I'm sorry, their W-2 will have a different address. And I've got a different address on the tax return, and neither of those addresses are the right addresses. They've moved, they've had to change a job. Now when we do it on your tax return, that will report it to the IRS. But really you should do it sooner because if they need to reach out to you for whatever reason, they're going to do it over the mail. Okay? So, if you have any questions on anything that I've talked about, please give me a call, 828-289-9300. Todd, it's hard to believe. It's just 2 weeks left. Just 2 weeks left.
Yep.
So that's the end of the program. We are winding down. You didn't hold up your 1 minute finger.
Yeah, you're past.
I'm past already? Oh, so the one thing came up and went down. Thank you for listening. This has been Gilbert Talks Taxes, WCAB 590 AM.
Keish has more.
The officer that fired the shots that killed